When we talk about physical intimacy, especially in long-term relationships, people often jump straight to technique, to the how-to of what hands should be doing or what moves to try. But the truth is, none of that will ever feel right. None of that will ever create a powerful experience unless the foundation is there first. And that foundation is emotional safety. Without it, touch feels mechanical. With it, touch feels magnetic. When a woman feels safe, respected, and valued, her body and mind align, and the physical connection deepens in a way that no single technique could ever replicate. Think about it. When was the last time you felt completely at ease with someone? When you didn't have to second guess yourself, when you knew you were being accepted exactly as you are. That sense of peace allows you to open up, to be yourself without fear. Women need that same environment in intimacy. Safety is what unlocks responsiveness. It's not about a trick or a move. It's about creating the emotional space where she feels she can let go. For many men, the instinct is to rush to get to the action. But intimacy is not about speed. It's about presence. If she feels like you're racing toward a goal, she will close off. If she feels like you're tuned into her, willing to listen and move at her pace, she will open up more than you imagined. This is why emotional safety is so powerful. It tells her that you're not just interested in her body, you're invested in her as a whole person. Now, how do you actually build that sense of safety? It starts outside the bedroom. It begins with communication, kindness, consistency. If she knows that when she speaks, you really hear her, she'll carry that trust into moments of physical connection. If she notices you respecting her boundaries in everyday life, she'll trust you more deeply when things become intimate. A woman who feels safe in your presence is more likely to let herself feel pleasure fully because her guard is down. During intimacy, emotional safety is communicated in subtle ways. Eye contact matters. It tells her you're present with her, not distracted. Your tone of voice matters. It should be calm, reassuring, not rushed or demanding. Even your breathing plays a role. When you're relaxed, she picks up on that. The message you're constantly sending through these little details is, you can trust me, you're safe with me. I'm here with you, not just for the moment, but for the experience. Touch itself becomes part of that communication. Instead of rushing to one area, start slow, start broad. Place your hands gently, with patience. Let her body acclimate to your presence. This is not just about touch. It's about saying with your hands, you matter to me. That's what creates the safety. Because here's the truth. A woman's body will never fully respond if her mind is guarded. But when her mind feels secure, her body follows effortlessly. You might think safety sounds simple, but it is often overlooked. Many men assume attraction is enough. But without emotional safety, attraction fizzles. With it, attraction grows stronger over time. Think about couples who have been together for decades and still share passion. That's not because of flashy techniques. It's because they trust one another deeply, and that trust makes every touch feel exciting. Safety also means patience with her signals. If she hesitates, if she pulls back slightly, don't push. That's the moment where your response will decide everything. If you respect that pause, if you slow down, she will feel even safer with you. If you ignore it or rush past it, she will close off, and intimacy becomes a performance instead of a connection. Respecting her pace isn't a sign of weakness. It's the strongest thing you can do because it proves you value her comfort over your own agenda. And here's something many men don't realize. When a woman feels safe, her own desire becomes more intense. Safety doesn't dampen excitement, it fuels it. Because now she doesn't have to think, doesn't have to overanalyze, doesn't have to question whether she's truly being valued. She can sink into the experience, let herself feel fully, and that is when intimacy becomes unforgettable. Safety also builds confidence on your end. When you know she trusts you, you don't feel the pressure to perform. You can relax, enjoy the connection, and that ease makes the experience better for both of you. It's a cycle. Safety leads to trust, trust leads to deeper connection, and that connection leads to more passion. So the first secret is not in a move or a technique. It's not about where your hands go or how fast or slow you move them. The first secret is the energy you bring, the emotional space you create. Make her feel safe and everything else will fall into place naturally. Because at the end of the day, intimacy isn't just about bodies touching, it's about two people connecting on a level where both feel secure, valued, and free to be themselves. And that all begins with emotional safety. When it comes to creating intimacy that feels unforgettable, one of the most overlooked elements is anticipation. Too many people think intimacy is about rushing toward the main event, but what actually makes it powerful, what actually makes it memorable is the buildup. When you take your time, when you move gently and allow the moment to unfold slowly, you ignite something deeper than just physical excitement. You spark emotional connection and mental arousal. That's why patience is such a powerful tool in intimacy. It's not about dragging things out unnecessarily, but about letting desire grow naturally, step by step, until every touch feels amplified. Think about it like this. If someone gives you something immediately without any buildup, you might appreciate it, but you won't savor it. But if you wait for it, if your anticipation builds, then when you finally experience it, the impact is so much stronger. Intimacy works the exact same way. When you start slowly, when you tease and allow time for the body and mind to get in sync, you're not just touching, you're creating an experience that stays with her. One of the biggest mistakes men make is confusing eagerness with passion. Eagerness is rushing ahead, skipping the journey to get to the destination. Passion, on the other hand, is all about being present in the moment, letting things build naturally. Women respond to the difference. If she feels rushed, it sends the message that her body is a means to an end. But if she feels that you're willing to linger, to enjoy the process, she feels valued, desired, and important. And when a woman feels that way, her responsiveness multiplies. Gentle progression is not just about slowing down, it's about layering the experience. Start with lighter, softer touches. Pay attention to how her body responds and let that guide your next move. When she feels you're reading her signals and not trying to control the pace, she feels more comfortable letting her guard down. That gradual increase in intensity builds her excitement in a way that rushing never could. You see, anticipation is psychological as much as it is physical. The mind is the most powerful driver of intimacy. When her mind is engaged, when she's wondering what comes next, when she feels the excitement of not knowing exactly how you'll touch her, but trusting that it will feel good, her body responds in ways you can't force. Teasing and building up slowly is what engages her imagination, and imagination is what amplifies pleasure. Another key element here is presence. When you slow down, you're showing her that you're not distracted. You're not elsewhere in your mind. You're here with her in this moment. That presence communicates more than words ever could. It says, "You matter to me. I want to enjoy every second of this with you. That message makes her feel not only physically desired, but emotionally seen. And that combination is what creates powerful intimacy. Now, you might think slowing down will make her lose interest, but the opposite is true. Women need time for their bodies to catch up to their minds. They need that gradual awakening, that process of shifting from everyday life into intimacy. When you give her that time, when you're patient with the progression, you're aligning with her natural rhythm. And when her rhythm aligns with yours, everything becomes smoother, easier, and far more passionate. Patience also eliminates pressure. When you're not focused on racing to an endpoint, you remove the sense of obligation. It becomes about shared enjoyment rather than performance. And that shift makes her feel more comfortable, which in turn makes the entire experience more fulfilling for both of you. Gentle progression can be as simple as starting with touch that doesn't even seem intimate at first. A hand on her back, a caress on her arm, brushing her hair aside. These small touches set the stage. They let her know you're present, attentive, and engaged. From there, you can gradually move closer, gradually increase the intensity, but the key is to always move at a pace that feels natural, not forced. The beauty of this approach is that it allows intimacy to unfold like a story, with rising tension, emotional connection, and a climax that feels earned rather than rushed. Anticipation also creates a sense of mystery. When she doesn't know exactly what you'll do next, when you keep her guessing with small surprises, her excitement grows. This doesn't mean you need to overcomplicate things. It just means leaving space for her imagination to fill in the blanks. A pause, a moment of stillness before continuing, can be more powerful than constant movement. That pause builds suspense, and suspense is one of the most powerful triggers of desire. The truth is, patience and anticipation are not about doing less. They're about doing it better. They're about making every touch, every moment carry more weight. When you're deliberate instead of rushed, when you create space for her to respond, intimacy transforms from something routine into something extraordinary. So don't think of slowing down as a delay. Think of it as building momentum. The slower you go at first, the stronger the energy becomes until it reaches a point where both of you are fully immersed in the connection. That is what creates intensity. That is what makes her remember the experience long after it's over. Because in the end, intimacy is not about getting somewhere quickly. It's about the journey, the build-up, the anticipation that makes the destination feel so much more powerful when you finally arrive. And that journey begins with patience and gentle progression. When we talk about intimacy, one of the most important things that often gets overlooked is awareness. Too many people focus on techniques, on memorizing moves, on trying to apply some kind of formula. But the truth is, no two women are exactly the same, and no two moments are exactly the same either. What worked yesterday may not feel the same today, and what makes one person light up might leave another person completely unmoved. That's why the real secret is not in memorizing techniques. It's in paying attention. Her body, her breath, her expressions, her sounds, those are the real guides. If you want to touch her the right way, you can't just follow a script. You have to tune in, listen with your hands, and let her responses show you the path. Think about how powerful it feels when someone actually listens to you, not just waiting for their turn to talk, but truly listening. You feel seen, understood, valued. Intimacy is no different. When you pay attention to her, when you respond to her signals rather than imposing your own rhythm, she feels heard without a word being spoken. That's what turns a simple touch into something deeply meaningful. It's not about what you're doing, it's about how much of her you're noticing. Women give constant feedback in ways that are subtle but unmistakable if you learn to pay attention. The way her breath quickens or slows, the way her body leans toward you or slightly pulls back, the small sounds she makes, even the tension or relaxation in her muscles, all of these are clues. If you rush past them, you miss the conversation her body is having with you. But if you notice them, if you respond to them, you create a dance that feels effortless and natural. It becomes a shared rhythm, not just you doing something to her, but the two of you creating something together. This is where presence comes in. To truly notice her responses, you have to be in the moment. That means not overthinking, not worrying about performance, not getting lost in your own head. It means quieting the noise and focusing entirely on her. When she feels your attention, when she knows you're tuned into her reactions, she relaxes even more. And when she relaxes, her enjoyment grows. That's how intimacy builds layer upon layer through connection, not control. Men often make the mistake of thinking they have to impress her with complicated moves or endless energy. But what really impresses her is when you prove that you're paying attention, when you can adjust and adapt to her without her having to say a word. That's what makes her feel cherished. Because now she knows it's not about your ego, it's about her experience. She feels prioritized, and that feeling changes everything. Responding to her also builds trust. Trust is not built in grand gestures. It's built in those small, consistent moments where she realizes you're actually present with her. If she leans into you and you respond with more, she knows you're aligned. If she slows down and you give her space instead of pushing forward, she knows you respect her pace. That respect builds safety, and safety is what allows her to let go completely. Another thing to remember is that paying attention means embracing variety. If she seems to respond strongly to a certain touch, you don't need to immediately change it, but you also don't want to lock into it mechanically. You can stay with it while also noticing when her body wants something different. Sometimes it's a shift in pressure, sometimes in rhythm, sometimes in where your focus is. By staying alert to her cues, you'll find the right balance between consistency and surprise. This is why awareness is more powerful than technique. A move that works perfectly with one woman might fall flat with another. But if you're tuned in, if you're paying attention to her specific reactions, you'll always know what to do. You won't have to guess, you won't have to worry, because her body will guide you. And when she realizes you're listening to her in that way, she will feel seen in a way that few people ever make her feel. There's also something magnetic about a partner who pays attention. It creates a sense of intimacy that goes beyond physical touch. It tells her, I see you, I feel you, I'm here with you. That message is powerful. It turns ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. It makes her want to open up more, to give more, because she feels like her energy is being matched and appreciated. When you start noticing the details, her size, her movements, the way her body shifts, you begin to realize that intimacy is not a puzzle to solve, but a conversation to engage in. And like any good conversation, it's not about dominating or controlling. It's about listening, responding, and allowing the flow to carry you both. That's what makes intimacy alive, unpredictable, and exciting every single time. So don't think of touch as a technique to master. Think of it as a language. And just like any language, it's not about memorizing phrases. It's about listening to the person you're speaking with and responding in a way that makes sense in the moment. That's what creates connection. That's what creates intimacy that feels unforgettable. Because when you stop trying to control the outcome and start paying attention to her responses, you stop performing and start connecting. And connection is what turns touch into something that moves her, not just physically, but emotionally. And that's when intimacy becomes powerful. One of the greatest secrets to creating unforgettable intimacy is finding the right balance between variety and consistency. Too much of one without the other either feels repetitive or chaotic, but when you blend them together with intention, you create an experience that feels exciting while also grounding. Consistency provides comfort, rhythm, and reliability, while variety sparks curiosity, playfulness, and surprise. When both are present, you create a dynamic that keeps her engaged moment after moment, never bored, but also never overwhelmed. Think of music for a moment. A song without rhythm feels scattered and disorganized, impossible to follow. But a song that only repeats the same note over and over again quickly becomes dull. What makes a song powerful is the steady rhythm combined with subtle changes, variations in tone, intensity, and timing. Intimacy works the same way. The steady presence of your touch provides reassurance, but the slight shifts in how you deliver it create excitement. It's that dance between predictability and surprise that keeps her deeply connected and wanting more. Consistency is often misunderstood. Some men think it means doing the same move endlessly, but that's not it at all. It's about being reliable in your energy, your presence, and your attention. It means she knows you're not going to vanish, rush, or lose focus. It's about creating a stable rhythm she can trust, something she can settle into without worrying if it will suddenly disappear. That reliability is comforting, and comfort is the foundation of deeper arousal. When she feels like she can count on your touch, her body relaxes, and when she relaxes, she can feel even more. But consistency alone can become flat if you never introduce variety. That's where subtle changes come in, changing the pressure of your touch, the pace, the angle, or even pausing for a moment before starting again. These shifts keep her mind engaged and her body curious. Variety prevents the experience from becoming predictable, and unpredictability heightens excitement. The key is not to constantly change, but to introduce variations within the framework of a steady rhythm. That way, she feels both the safety of knowing where you are and the thrill of not knowing what you'll do next. This balance also shows attentiveness. When you mix consistency with variety, you're proving that you're not just running on autopilot, but that you're engaged, responding, and connected. She can feel when you're intentional, when you're bringing creativity to the moment, instead of simply repeating motions. And that awareness makes her feel valued because it proves she is not just another routine. You are present with her specifically here and now. It's also important to remember that variety doesn't always have to mean doing something dramatically different. Sometimes the smallest adjustment creates the biggest effect. A shift in tempo, slowing down when she least expects it, or applying just a little more firmness at the right time. These subtle changes can be more powerful than any grand move. Because variety is not about being flashy, it's about being thoughtful and intentional. At the same time, consistency is what allows those small changes to feel significant. If everything is random, nothing stands out. But if there's a steady rhythm, then even the slightest variation becomes exciting. Think again of music. The drop in a song only feels powerful because of the buildup that came before it. In intimacy, the same principle applies. Your steady presence makes the surprises meaningful, and your surprises keep your presence from ever becoming boring. This balance also deepens trust. When she experiences your consistency, she knows she can let go. She knows you're reliable. When she experiences your variety, she knows you're invested, that you're not just going through the motions. That combination makes her feel both safe and thrilled at the same time, and that's what turns intimacy into something unforgettable. Another beautiful effect of blending consistency with variety is that it removes the pressure from both of you. You don't have to reinvent every moment, nor do you have to stick to a rigid routine. Instead, you flow naturally between the comfort of rhythm and the spark of surprise. It keeps things alive without ever feeling forced. And the more natural it feels, the more she will want to come back to it again and again. Consistency also applies to more than just touch. It's about your energy and your presence throughout the entire experience. If your energy is scattered, if you seem disconnected, she'll feel it instantly. But if you're steady in your focus, if you show her that you're fully here with her, she will relax into the experience. Then, when you introduce variety, it won't feel random. It will feel like a natural expression of the connection you've already built. When you master this balance, intimacy stops being predictable and starts becoming alive. Every moment feels connected, yet new. Every movement feels intentional yet surprising. That's the kind of experience that lingers in her memory, not because of any one move, but because of the energy and attentiveness behind it. So don't think of variety and consistency as opposites. Think of them as partners. One provides the foundation, the other adds the spark. Together, they create a rhythm that feels safe and exciting, steady and playful, grounding and electrifying all at once. And when you can bring that balance into your connection, you'll discover that intimacy has no limit to how deep or powerful it can become. Because in the end, the secret is not in choosing between consistency or variety, it's in knowing how to weave them together so that every moment feels alive, intentional, and unforgettable.